It's the light at the end of the tunnel time of the semester. Time for the final project. I'm going to walk through some of the basic expectations for this last assignment and make sure we're all on the same page. So there's a default assignment of defining the most remote area in Cache County. The idea is to establish a set of input criteria, similar to the habitat modeling exercise you just finished, and perform GIS analysis to identify the most remote location in Cache County. However, remoteness is user defined, so maybe you want to find the perfect cave to hibernate in. Maybe you want to go on a picnic, a donut picnic, and you want to be on a hillside facing south within a mile of Dunkin' Donuts. Maybe you want to map out the perfect place to go snowmobiling, or the perfect backcountry skiing location where you for sure won't hear. Maybe you want to go beyond the bounds of cell phone coverage. Your analysis doesn't have to be in Cache County, and it doesn't have to be remoteness that you're mapping. Your analysis will really only be limited by your imagination, time, and data availability. Am I open to alternate analyses? You bet. Ensure at least that you're meeting the minimum requirements and that you're analyzing and not just visualizing data. I'll talk about that a little bit more in just a second. I do want to ensure that you're doing actual geospatial analysis, which means using the geoprocessing tools and working with raster data, not just visualizing data. So here are the minimum requirements for the project. These are the requirements that you need to meet for a successful project. Number one, you need to use both vector and raster data. So think combining elevation or slope with vector stuff that you should be well acquainted with by now. And make sure you're not just displaying the data, like I said, but you're actually calculating things. It needs to go beyond using the Explore tool. I want you to use zonal statistics or reclassify to create binary outputs, things like that. And then combine that with some of the geoprocessing tools like clipping and erasing and doing different raster calculations. But that's it. Those are the minimum requirements. Your grade will reflect the sophistication and complexity of your analysis. So you might consider downloading additional data. You can definitely use the data that we give you, but it would up the complexity to go and find something new to add. You might also teach yourself a new tool or introduce a new type of calculation. You could add a digitizing component. And like I said, creating composite layers where you use the outputs from one tool as the input for a next set of tools. That's what I mean by composite layers. The other component of your grade is going to be how well you communicate your results, and that's going to come in two forms. First, you're going to meet with me, and we're going to have a discussion about your analysis, and you're going to have a chance to convince me that you've been evaluating your data as you go along. The other piece is that you'll present the results of your analysis and narrate the process of your analysis in a story map. Your grade will also reflect the extent to which you use the features within the story maps. So like I said, you'll be presenting your analysis in a story map. And this means that you do not and really should not make a formal standalone map. Instead, you'll be making a series of effective maps demonstrating your process and your results. You're still going to be expected to show off your math skills by creating edited and streamlined scale bars, choosing suitable symbology, using base maps that are appropriate for the scale and the context that you want to show. But you don't need to create a formal one-page map. You also won't be submitting a formal lab report. Instead, like I said, we'll be meeting one-on-one, and I'll expect you to demonstrate how you are evaluating yourself and your data and your tools along the way for reasonableness. I recommend you take notes and focus on why you chose the tools that you did and how you know they worked. All right, so to recap a little bit, there's some basic steps. Number one, get in there and complete your analysis. When you're done, you'll be creating a one-page document that demonstrates that your analysis is complete. You'll submit that to the discussion board, and then you'll have the opportunity to evaluate two other students' final project analyses and give them some feedback on the complexity and maybe how they might best present their results. You'll also then be meeting one-on-one with me to have conversations about your analysis, and then you'll have a little bit of time to incorporate all the feedback that you get and make some final adjustments to your analysis. And then finally, you'll have a week or so to present your analysis process and your results in the form of a story map. And then finally, you'll have about 10 days to present your analysis process and results in a story map. Here are a couple of hints if you get stuck. This may seem obvious, and it's possible you've already been doing this a ton this semester, but Google it, especially if you're looking for a certain data set. I like to just Google free GIS data with search terms that help focus the search a little bit. Remember that every tool has information embedded in it. There's a little blue circle with an eye in it next to the tool name and next to all the different input and output criteria. If you click on that, it pops up a little window that describes and defines what everything does. That's really helpful. You can go to the Utah AGRC and search for data there. It's a really easy place to extract data. I recommend taking notes and grabbing screenshots and maybe think about kind of building a working journal. Same goes for capturing the data credits as you collect data. It's going to be a lot easier to take note of the sources than it is going to be to go back and try and figure out where you got data. And finally, don't put off until tomorrow. I've built in some deadlines along the way so that you can't just blow this off, until the very last week of the semester and then just not have time to get it all done. So we're going to kind of break the final project down into these little chunks like I laid out in the 4 steps. All right, the last recap. For the discussion board, the first thing you're going to do is finish your analysis and submit a 1-page demonstration of your analysis results. And again, that means your analysis has to be complete. You'll be assigned students to evaluate, and within 3 days, you'll give them feedback on the complexity of their analysis. You'll be setting up a one-on-one meeting with me, and I will ask you to demonstrate your self-evaluation. We'll discuss your project, and I will provide some guidance for any additional work that should be done before creating your story map. And that is truly that. If you have any questions about any of this, don't hesitate to ask. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you all come up with and discussing your analyses with you one-on-one. Thanks.